TheJamies.net.
One of our favorite ways to explore a cruise port is by combining local history with local food. And Halifax, Nova Scotia has been a great place to do exactly that on multiple visits. During our visit in August 2025 aboard the Majestic Princess, we spent about 6 hours exploring the South End of Halifax on foot. Along the way, we visited several historic sites, walked through some of the city's most well-known areas, and made a few stops for tasty snacks. In this video, we'll share our self-guided walking tour of Halifax, including the route we followed, the historic places we visited, and the food we ate along the way. Just a quick note that if you enjoy this video, please give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. It really helps our channel. And consider subscribing so you get alerted when we add new videos. Our ship docked at Pavilion 22, and we could see quite a bit of the South End of Halifax from the top of our ship. Looking out over the city, it was a good reminder that this part of Halifax is quite hilly, especially once you start walking away from the waterfront. Before heading out, we walked through the cruise terminal building, which had souvenir shops, public restrooms, free Wi-Fi, an information booth, and a shore excursions company. There was also a large welcome backdrop that made for a great photo spot. Leaving the cruise terminal area, we made our way northwest to Barrington Street. We followed the street north to the Government House of Nova Scotia. The Government House is the official residence of the Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, and a marker notes that the cornerstone was laid in 1800. There's also a plaque from the Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada with additional information about the house's significance. Directly across the street is the Old Burying Ground, one of the oldest cemeteries in Halifax. We stopped at the main entrance, which features a large stone arch topped with a lion statue. The arch serves as a memorial to soldiers who died during the Crimean War in the 1800s and is believed to be the only memorial of its kind in North America. Just inside the gate, we found an orientation map showing the layout of the grounds and listing those buried there, along with coordinates to help locate specific graves. We walked a bit into the grounds, which were relatively shaded and quiet, and took some time to look at a few of the particularly old grave markers before continuing on. From the cemetery, we headed north to Spring Garden Road. Then we turned left and walked west. Spring Garden Road is one of Halifax's main commercial streets and is a central part of the South End. Along the way, we passed the Halifax Central Library. While we didn't go inside, the building stood out to us because of its modern, stacked, eye-catching design. Continuing west, we arrived at the Halifax Public Gardens. The Victorian-style formal gardens cover about 16 acres and were established in 1867. The gardens were designated a National Historic Site of Canada in 1984. Inside, we found manicured flower beds, walking paths, ponds, statues, and a bandstand, all laid out in a formal design. Free guided tours were offered daily, and public restrooms were also available. We spent some time strolling through the gardens and taking many photos before exiting through the same southeast gate we used to enter. After leaving the gardens, we backtracked a bit east along Spring Garden Road to the Cow's Ice Cream Shop. The shop was filled with cow-themed merchandise and a wide selection of ice cream flavors with playful, cow-inspired names. We each ordered a single scoop in a waffle cone, including sea salted toffee, PEI apple crisp, and double chocolate cheesecake. A single scoop cost $6 Canadian, which was roughly $4.50 US at the time of our visit. Since there wasn't any seating inside, we relaxed on some benches we found along the sidewalk to enjoy our quick ice cream break. From Cowes, we continued walking a short distance east to Dresden Row. We then turned and headed north to Creamy Rainbow Bakery and Cafe. Inside, the bakery offered a variety of sweet treats, including several cute animal-themed macarons and cream puffs. We ordered a chocolate bear puff and enjoyed it inside the cafe. The fun treat cost $6.85 Canadian, or just over $5 US. Leaving the bakery, we continued north along Dresden Row. At the T intersection with Sackville Street, we turned and headed east toward the entrance for the Halifax Citadel National Historic Site. During our visit, the Citadel offered free admission as part of a special event. We used the free access to walk around the main open area in the center of the structure. Since we were mostly just sightseeing, we didn't join any of the paid tours and explored everything on our own. The Halifax Citadel dates back to 1749, when the British first fortified Citadel Hill. The current structure is the fourth rebuild and was completed in 1856. Over the years, the Citadel played a key role in the city's defense. Its elevated location helped protect the city's harbor and shaped Halifax's development as a military and naval center. We barely scratched the surface of the Citadel's deep, rich history during our visit, so it's a site we'd like to spend more time exploring during a future visit to Halifax. Before leaving, we spent a few minutes relaxing in the large red Adirondack chairs overlooking the South End. The chairs were located near the Citadel's ticket office and were part of a Parks Canada initiative to encourage visitors to pause and take in the surroundings. According to the organization's website, over 400 chairs have been placed at national parks and national historic sites throughout Canada. Leaving the Citadel, we followed the eastern path past the Old Town Clock. The clock is a faithful reconstruction of the original, which was built in 1803. The original clock was ordered by Prince Edward, the father of Queen Victoria, while he was stationed in Halifax. We continued east along Carmichael Street to see the Five Fishermen building at the intersection with Argyle Street. Originally built in 1817, the building later served as a funeral home and received victims from both the Titanic disaster in 1912 and the Halifax explosion in 1917. From there, we crossed the street to St. Paul's Anglican Church and the adjacent Grand Parade. The Grand Parade is the oldest public square in Halifax and has been a central gathering place for Haligonians since the city's founding in 1749. City Hall stood at the north end of the square, along with the nearby Slain Peace Officers Memorial Arch. In the center of the Grand Parade was the Cenotaph, a war memorial dedicated to those who served and died in military service to Canada. At the south end of the square was St. Paul's Church, completed in 1750 and recognized as the oldest building in Halifax. Leaving the Grand Parade, we followed Argyle Street south to the intersection with Blowers Street and stopped at Classic Pizza. Despite the name, we didn't order pizza. Instead, we ordered from their all-day lunch special menu and enjoyed a small donair, a small poutine, and a couple of sodas. All of the food was tasty, and it cost just over $12 Canadian, or just under $9 US. From Classic Pizza, we headed east toward the intersection of Hollis Street and Salter Street to stop at Cabin Coffee. There we met up with a Halifax-based crew member we befriended years ago on a previous cruise. While catching up, we enjoyed some coffee, cinnamon rolls, and large cookies. Everything we tried was tasty, and the coffee was surprisingly inexpensive, with every option priced under $6 Canadian, or a bit over $4 US, even for the largest sizes. Leaving Cabin Coffee, we walked south along Hollis Street to Flynn's Dairy Bar at the intersection with Bishop Street. We visited Flynn's on a previous cruise, and our jelly bean was very excited to return. This time, we ordered a giant Oreo massive shake for $13 Canadian, or roughly $9.40 US, and the shake lived up to its name in every way. We also tried a scoop of Moon Mist ice cream, which is considered the unofficial flavor of Nova Scotia. The flavor is a mix of banana, grape, and bubblegum, and it was definitely interesting. A single scoop cone cost $4 Canadian, or roughly $3 US. After leaving the dairy bar, we continued south along Hollis Street as it curved toward the Atlantic Superstore. This was another stop we enjoyed on a previous visit, and we went back to pick up a mix of familiar Canadian favorites, as well as some new items. We purchased Mars bars, Kraft Dinner, chicken bones, dark roast peanut butter, a variety of new-to-us chip flavors, and more. From the parking lot of the Atlantic Superstore, we could see our ship docked at the nearby pavilion. We follow the streets back around to the cruise terminal building to wrap up the day. Altogether, we spent about 6 hours exploring the South End of Halifax. It was a full but manageable walking day that combined history, scenery, and plenty of food, all within easy reach of the cruise port. We're hoping to return to Halifax again someday soon, so if you have any favorite places to walk, historic spots to see, or local food we should try, let us know in the comments below.